Hey there, this is Dr. Pam Perry, and we are really at this point talking about how to get out there, get known in front of 100,000 people. Like, how about that, right? So, 100,000 people on TikTok. This lady, over 100,000 people on TikTok. So, how did she do that? How did she get out there, get known? And then she's also going to be on a billboard in Times Square. So, we're going to talk about how this young lady got out there, got known, and has been really just burning up the internet. All right, here we go.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, who will show you how to crack the code in getting out there to get known. Each week, she either interviews her media friends, PR colleagues, or she just goes solo, offering you strategies on publicity, publishing, and platform building. So listen up to hear how to get booked on media places and on superstar stages. Now, here's your host, Pam Perry.
Hey there, Kelsey Russell, cover girl of Speakers Magazine. Oh my God, so good to see you. So I wanted right off the bat. So I want people to know a little bit about your story, and it's not like you just woke up with 100,000 people on TikTok, right? But give us a backstory of you, and then how you ended up with this platform, I guess you would say, of where you are right now.
I love to share. And thank you for having me on too, Dr. Perry, as well. So my journey on social media started as an accident. I accidentally went viral for kind of making some fun of my family on Thanksgiving. And with that platform, I just decided, as I was in school at Boston University, getting my bachelor's in sociology, I should just document what it's like to be a young Black girl living in Boston, which was a total change from growing up in Atlanta. And I gained about 40,000 followers for that. I've always had a love of learning and feeding my soul through getting information. So I was at a point where I felt like I wasn't getting news. I wasn't enjoying the way I would consume news, the small amount that I did. So I asked for a New York Times subscription to come to my door, and I just put my phone down and said, hey, let me just share with my followers what I'm learning. And it ended up on a path of media literacy, of emotional regulation while reading, and getting a generation excited about enjoying the news again. So that is just a bit of my story.
I love that. I love that. I want to just present really, really quick some of your TikTok. Okay. So this is the things that, she said she went viral. So a lot of times people's like, well, what does viral mean? Okay. So just some of the ones that she's pinned. One in particular, 3 newspapers that she was reading had 1.1 million views. The other one, I think that was probably the first one. It says your family at the airport. Was that 870,000?
That was actually not even the Thanksgiving TikTok. That was just a TikTok that went viral that shows a little bit of my personality and my family, which is important to me. So that was us complaining about all of our issues at the airport every time we travel.
Oh, I know. And then there's the other one, this New York Times update number 1. And so you kind of do the series and things. That was 1.8 million. Yes. And then, just you're pretty regular on this. And part 1, part 2, part 3, and it just kind of goes on a little bit like that. But really the main thing that you're really talking about is media literacy. And so the background of just knowing the news and really understanding the news and explaining the news to the Gen Zs is part of the fun for you. But it also has made it so that it's a career. So kind of tell us a little bit about your background, what you thought you were going to do with this sociology degree, and now doing this thing here. It's like, okay, people are like, well, how does she get paid to do that? So yes, kind of give us a little bit about that.
Oh, I've had so many things that I thought I was going to do with my sociology degree. At some point, I really wanted to go to law school after undergrad and become an education lawyer. And the more lawyers I talked to in education, I realized I like money a little too much to be in that path. So then I really wanted to continue getting my PhD after my master's and become a professor. And I always wanted to be a college president, and still do to this day. And that's what was my path. I was going to become a sociologist, keep studying, stay in academia, in the world of academia. And obviously my love for learning led to me sharing that on social media. And that has turned into a career for me in many different paths. So of course, there's first brand partnerships where a brand reaches out to me and says, hey, we love for you to make a video showing a product, showing a lifestyle. Then there's also the public speaking that came out about this, because there's only so many, right, on Speakers Magazine, there's only so many influencers who are young, who are Black, who kind of have an educational and thought leadership focus, and can speak about media literacy. So that's led me to be on a lot of stages, panels, and then small consulting too. There's so many newspaper and journalist brands that are trying to figure out, how do we get our next generation of readers, because our current generation isn't going to be here possibly that much longer. So I've been able to offer consulting of how do you look at your social media and make news interesting and sexy for a younger generation. So that's how I've turned it into career. Also hosting, I'm a co-host on a kids news show. I've hosted TV programs. So all of that has turned into a career, being kind of a thought leader, public figure, and more than an influencer, as I say.
And a speaker, because you're going to be speaking at the Niche Conference next year as well in Vegas, and Niche Media Conference. So that's another opportunity that, that really, because you're a media influencer, those are the things too. And then speaking and consulting. Do you teach or coach, or I guess it is in a way, train the media how to use TikTok? Like, you're using the camera. It's not like you're a videographer and went to school for video and film, but it's like, do you train them on content or how to do it? What is that space? Because they're really, really good. They're so interesting and cute. So it's like, are you doing storyboards? How do you, and then you've got to keep up with all the engagement. So the more thousands you get, you got that part. Like, I don't even know how you do that part. So kind of explain some of that.
So I guess the way I put together my videos and how I help people consult is that what influencers did was they broke a mold with journalism. For so long, people have wanted to get their stories from unbiased people, and that's very important. But also what influencers have done is said, let me tell you about this experience and let me share how my race, my socioeconomic status, my background has impacted how I'm using this product, how I'm experiencing whatnot. So I always tell, journalists and companies that younger generations do want to know the background of your journalist. They want to know where that person comes from. So if you can use your platform in a way to showcase who's writing the stories, younger people love to know how do you even make a story? What's the difference between somebody who sat down on the shade room and typed the blog versus somebody who's going out there and investigating, getting sources? So always telling folks, using your platform as a journalist to not just say, what is the information? How did I gather it? And when it comes to my videos, I always am motivated by self-interest. So if there's something in the news that I see that sparks me up, makes me interested, I'm more likely to share it. So that's how I go about the videos and engagement. I measure engagement, I think, in two different ways. I measure by saves, how many people save my videos, especially if I make longer form content. So if people save it, that lets me know they saw it, it was interesting enough, and they want to come back to it on a different scroll. And also how many of my videos turn into real life engagements, like speaking, panels, these kind of podcasts. Because to me, that's also success that isn't measured on the app, but leads to even bigger opportunities than likes, comments, shares, and things like that.
I like that. Jeff Brooks says, hey, Kelsey, hey, Dr. Pam. He says, you rock, Kelsey. You most definitely influenced me to read more. Thank you, Dr. Pam, for introducing me to Kelsey. So just the plug that we're going to say is that these photos here in Speakers Magazine are the ones that Jeff Brooks took. And he took those when you were at an event. Talk about the event you were in Baltimore, that with who you were on stage with and that sort of thing.
Yes, I was there with Maryland Public TV. I was hosting the launch of their Media Literacy Center beside Frank Sesno, very, very well-known journalist. And that was actually one of my first live recordings of hosting something. So that was really cool. And I think my favorite part was that they had a lot of videos that were made by elementary and middle schoolers and high schoolers about the way that their phone usage has impacted their interactions with news and media. And I got to sit down after and eat lunch with them. And that's usually my favorite thing, is talking to young folks. So that was my
God. That is good. That is good. So those photos, thank you, Jeff. They were fabulous. These are the ones that will be on the Times Square in New York City, where you happen to be as well. So that will be cool for you to see that. Maybe, hopefully you'll be able to see it. If not, we'll record it as well. But the thing that I really like that you've done with your platform is that you've built it organically. So you never bought followers and and that kind of thing, which is a thing. So let people know that you can get out there, get known, and you can pay to play for any of this stuff. But
Absolutely.
it's better to have it organically when what she said in terms of unbiased. So talk about some of the products, I guess you say, who you've worked with as an influencer, and why you pick certain products, where they select you and you select them. Have there ever been times when you say, I would like to be an influencer for, say, I don't know, ice water or whatever? Have you ever reached out to a brand yourself, or has it always been like inbound?
It's always usually been inbound. However, there are definitely some brands that what I typically do is like on a podcast or if I'm in public, I'll drop that, oh my gosh, but I would love to work with this brand. And then somebody will come up to me. So I try to do it a little bit organically. In the future, I hope I can work with somebody that I already know is in the audience. Like I'm going to be speaking at South by Southwest in March. And so I'll definitely be noting who is probably going to be in the audience and drop that I like to work with some of them.
Good, good. Okay.
Um,
I love
so
South by Southwest. You were at South by Southwest. You're going to speak there in March?
yes, I'm going to be speaking there in March on a
Oh
panel
my
there.
God. And then you were also, we'll probably see you at Afrotech as well next year as well. You went there this year, but I'd like to see you speaking there next year as well. And then the Niche Media Conference. Do you have other, you know, and this is really about building a platform, because it has taken how long for this to grow to this? Because I want people to understand that you just can't get on TikTok and it's going to happen overnight. So how long have you been growing this platform, getting out there?
I've been growing this platform primarily on TikTok. It's been over 4 years now. It started in
Mhm.
2020, like on accident, pretty much. And
Mhm.
then the media literacy portion of it started about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So even looking back, it has taken quite some time to get where I am today. However, I also like to say I got a lot of practice making videos and being comfortable being in front of cameras. My mom made me public speak since I was almost 4 or 5 years old. So
Okay.
the skill itself has been there. I've been comfortable in front of crowds. And I'm a Gen Zer, so I used to run like a little what we call Finsta or spam accounts, where it's your second account. And I talked a lot about what was going on at school, maybe some drama. So I
Mhm.
have always had an intuition of this is what people want to see and how
Mhm.
can I make sure I bring my voice in organically. So 4 years, but pretty much my whole entire life, I either had experience talking in front of people, large crowds, or using my platform in the internet to grow a following.
And then also too, during that period of time, not only were you doing that, but you were also in school getting your master's degree. So
Yes, this whole entire time I've grown TikTok. I've either been in undergrad or grad school. I completely forgot I graduated this year. So school was
so
the forefront and social media was the background. So these have been
right.
the past couple months, probably 4, 5, 6 months. I've actually been able to fully go into using my platform.
Yeah, that is really cool, because I want people to know that that's not what you were also going to school getting your master's degree. And so what I want people to know is that I found out about Kelsey through EMP, editor and publisher. And I want to say it was June, but I don't know if it was June, because I went to go look for my June. So it may have been July. I don't know. But
Yeah.
it was in editor and publisher. And I was flipping through, and it was a 2-page, or maybe a 3-page spread about you and about how you were using TikTok to really influence Gen Zers, really to engage more with print publications. And that's where I thought, I thought that was interesting. And so I put it aside and I thought that was interesting. And then the next month or so, maybe, I don't know, less than that, and Ryan Dorn said, hey, did you read about Kelsey Russell? And then that's when we kind of said, she would be a great speaker, speak, sell, shine. She's going to be, doing all the things. So that was where it really came from, editor and publisher, from a print. This is not the actual magazine, but I'm going to find it, but it's EMP, which
Yeah.
is been around forever. It talks about print, broadcast, and digital, but primarily it talks a lot about print. And so that was one of the things where I found out about you. And again, how did they find out about you? How did the actual reporter reach out to you?
She reached out to me through email, and she, I believe, saw an article of me on Slate. That's where she
Okay.
saw an article of me on was Slate, or was either in a newsletter of hers. So
Okay.
she found out about me through being published in another article. So that's when I started to realize, like, oh, this is a media cycle. So
Mhm.
like you said, the more you get out there, the more you get known.
It
Um,
is. It
that's
is. Media.
essentially how she
I
found
always
out.
say media begets media. That is
Yes,
it. You start here and you'll never know where you end up, because then it's like they saw this, they saw that, this person saw that, and then you're on stages, you're speaking at South by Southwest, you're
yep,
speaking at Afrotech, you're speaking at Niche Media Conference, and so every time you speak, you then gather more momentum offline, as well as obviously you have the influence online, but you have more offline as well. And
exactly.
so you have brands that come to you. Where would you like to see Kelsey, say, I don't know, 3 years from now? Okay, well, first we're gonna talk about the elephant in the room, about TikTok. Okay, so I don't know what's gonna happen with
I know,
TikTok.
right?
So
I,
give me a little bit of news, what you've been reading about what might happen with TikTok, because but it's still, I mean, you could use YouTube Shorts or
totally.
Reels. So tell me about a little bit about what you feel is news wise is going to happen with TikTok, or if it does happen, if they go away.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think it go either way. So what's going on with TikTok is essentially they're owned by ByteDance, which is a company that exists in China, and our US government is not comfortable with the access to data that they have. Uh ByteDance representatives have come in front of Representatives of the United States and have said that they are not using the data for any malicious intent. Honestly, who knows? I'm not a lawyer. I'm not a tech guru. But what I do know is that the only chance for TikTok to exist in the United States and continue to exist is if ByteDance sells their company to a non-Chinese owner. So I think that the chances of it getting banned could go either way. I don't know if ByteDance actually was prepared for the United States to take this as seriously as they did. I also think, I believe the ban is either effective January 16th or 19th. I want to say 19th. And
Mm-hmm.
we'll also have a new president by that time.
Oh,
Donald Trump is
okay.
currently our president elect. So I think it could go either way. It could go
Mhm.
either way. But as of now, right now, it's so important that my first digital series on YouTube drops before that date, so I
Yeah.
can make sure I get all of my followers to start following me on YouTube. And it definitely could be banned. But if it does get banned, I'm sure we'll see another app come into fruition and a new wave of influencers
Mm-hmm.
that become a
Mm-hmm.
part of that app too.
So if they follow you on YouTube, would it still be Kelsey Russ, the
Yeah,
same?
it'll still
Okay,
be
good.
customized.
Okay, all right. I think I'm following you there already on YouTube. I think I have. Have you started building that out yet, or no?
I haven't started building it out. I want to like really be good with actually filming and making this better than my TikTok quality. But I have all the ducks in a row to start filming and have things published before that date comes out. As soon as I get back from vacationing, and
Okay, all right. I think I'm one of the first two that are following you over there on YouTube, because I
thank
love
you, thank you.
YouTube, because that's one of the things that we'll find that she's going to be doing that. Have you ever thought though? The way you just explained about TikTok was just amazing. It's like a news reporter. Have you ever thought about going into broadcast news, like going back to journalism school? I mean, I know you went to Columbia and you went to, but Columbia Journalism School or that kind of thing, or
Yeah. I'm happy you brought that up because I think it goes back to your word. See myself in 3 years. I would absolutely love to be on like a legacy institution, like a CNN,
Mhm.
actually describing and making the news accessible for younger people. So I do hope that broadcast journalism is in my future. And I've always seen it inside. I've always wanted to be on TV. Like that was something I've always wanted to do from a young age. I think the way that I'm going about it was not the way I expected to. But I could definitely see myself there in 3 years or so.
Yeah,
Um, and I
yeah.
would love to. And I actually have plans to go back to school still as well. And what is where I'm on the fence about? I'm like, oh, should it be journalism since I have this kind of background that I'm experiencing? Should I continue sociology? Should it be communications? So I think I'll definitely have some more clarity within that the next year or so.
Yeah, I think one of the things that they call it MMJs, multimedia journalists. So that is at Howard University. It's a whole it's a whole curriculum. You could just major in that in the School of Communications at Howard. And I was like a MMJ, a multimedia journalist. So at one point in time, it was like you're going to do broadcast or you're going to do print, but multimedia is like you're going to do all the things. Okay, so it's kind of like what you're doing now, because you're researching the story, you're shooting the story, you're doing the captions, doing the editing. It's all those things that, again, people like to hear from people who are unbiased, or just basically telling them about the background of why this is important to you,
Yeah.
and them really sharing that. Because I like how you explain the TikTok. It's like, okay, it may go either way, and so I'm not going to just sway one way, but you've been studying it enough to know that. So the next thing that I want to just ask you is like, so we've got the speaking, the consulting, coaching. So other Gen Zs, do they ask for coaching for how did you do what you did, Kelsey? It's like, is that a part of the business as well, or is it not yet?
Now I'm going to say not yet. I don't want to say no and never, but I would say not yet. What I see from a lot of younger people, what they want is more so a community. They're very interested in getting my recommendations of what to read, how to start reading, where to find print media, why they should read different articles, saying, I want to know more about politics. What would you recommend I read? I want to know more about science. What would you recommend I read? So I have that. And then a lot of people who ask more so how to annotate, which I think is interesting because it's letting me know that this has nothing to do with teachers. Our education system is broken by all means. But it's letting me know that a lot of younger people are looking to influencers to be the next part of teaching. So that's what they're mainly asking for, is help on how to read, really.
Yeah. So it sounds like it could be in a way like a book club, but like a reading club, or I don't know, like a Kelsey club,
Yeah,
where
like
part of your community, where as you're learning and teaching, that they're part of that as well. And that is probably more like a Gen Z thing, whereas someone who like is a baby boomer or a Gen Xer, it's like, I want you to just coach me, to show me. Whereas a Gen Z
exactly.
is like, let's be in a community, let's learn together. So that could be something that is definitely another product or another line that
Yeah.
people are using their influence or building their personal brand. As they grow, then they monetize it. The years ago, people really weren't talking about a personal brand. What is a personal brand? It's like, I get a job, I go to school, I teach, I'm a lawyer, I'm a doctor. What is a personal brand? But a personal brand is something that, and like a better word, like Kim Kardashian basically made it popular. I mean, she really had no skills, so to speak, but she
Exactly.
monetized her brand. And so
Exactly.
that became like the thing. I mean, obviously she had a reality show, but even the reality show was just her just doing
Building
her
her brain.
thing, yeah, building her brand, and
Yes.
pretty amazing what her mom did. So the personal branding that you have, you're going to be building out. How do you want to be positioned? I guess you would say, as your personal brand. I know we say a thought leader, but a thought leader in tech, a thought leader in social media, thought leader. What buckets do you want to see your personal brand built out on?
Yeah, I think the biggest bucket for me is learning and literacy, those two. I feel like, there's a lot of people education. And then when I think of education, I often think of a hierarchy sometimes of somebody teaching you how to do something in a formalized environment. That's why I would like to lean in the buckets of learning and literacy, because learning is something you do every day. Like we literally, when we wake up, there's no way you can go to bed without learning something. So I would say that that's a bucket I would want to be in, literacy, my love of that. So I would say those are two buckets. Um, and yeah, I might want to think of a third bucket though, because a lot of my audience likes the part of me that's my personality, my fashion, all of that.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I would also probably say a lifestyle bucket, even though sometimes I
yeah.
try to avoid the lifestyle. Because I don't like people in my business all the time, Dr. Beard. But I realize they want to be in it, so I have to give them a little bit of it.
Right. Yeah. The lifestyle brand is really a big part of a lot of influencers that are on IG for sure. It's like their lifestyle brand, and it was at a certain point in time when I got on IG, and I was like, okay, this is years ago. and I was like, so what do we do here on IG? And it's like your people are taking pictures of their lunch. It's like, well, why is that interesting? And it took me a while to figure out, like, okay, they're taking pictures of their food, but then that was really lifestyle, like just
Exactly.
behind the scenes of their life. I was like, oh,
Mhm.
I get it. So I don't put pictures of what I'm eating, but I will put out pictures of me maybe exercising or things like that. I have a IG that's aging healthy, which is basically the lifestyle of a baby boomer who is
Mhm.
aging healthy versus my other one, which is a professional one, or versus the other one, which is Speakers Magazine. So they all have their own different ones, but it
Mhm.
is a big, big area to grow. And I'm so glad that you're kind of like on the forefront of that, because it's huge. It is going to be very, very huge in terms of careers that people are going to choose. I mean, they're going to go to college and it's like, oh, okay, well, I don't have this to pick from. I can go into digital, whatever. I don't know. I guess it is at Full Sail University does that digital marketing, but it's
Mhm.
even beyond that. It's more like the social part of it. And I don't know if there'll be a major of influencer marketing, but it's definitely a few books out there on it. And that's how people are really monetizing their brand. So I just really
Absolutely.
appreciate the fact that you're doing this and speaking more, really sharing with corporations and especially newspapers that are kind of dinosaurs, like how to really make this more sexy, more fun.
Exactly,
Because
because there's
the
so
thing
many
about
ways. There's so many ways that they can do it. So I'm happy to help them. And also they're so important to like our history and the point. That's the thing about I always tell young people about the United States. We have this really cool thing called the Constitution, and it actually gives us freedom of the press.
yeah,
So we are allowed to have things like this in this country
yeah,
because of that. So it's our job as a younger generation to buy them and to support them, or else we might not have freedom of the press anymore. So yeah.
I would love for you to be a speaker at NMPA's at one of their events. Like I said the other day, I took the magazines to their event and I let them know a little bit about you. But a lot of the publishers that are these are all the women publishers. A lot of the women publishers may not have their own personal brand, right?
Mhm.
And then they do have to really like become part of the personal brand. They're part of history. So something like that, you teaching them and talking to them about that is going to be groundbreaking, because it's
Yes,
like, we're not they feel like they're not part of the news, but they are, just from the standpoint, like you said, people are interested in who the person is that is delivering the news. Well, what's your background? Where are you from? What do you
exactly.
do?
Mhm.
And they have history because they may be the second or third generation of that as well. Jeff said that he will definitely be uh, just letting him to know the time of the Times Square posting. He'll try to get there and do that. He said he should have taken some photos uh, of the Maryland crab cake sandwich he had for lunch. And that's people do
That
want to
sounds
know, like, what is the lifestyle of a person, and
exactly.
that's one of the main things that you do. And the lifestyle of makeup, I have a client, she was in Speak Sell Shine, which you're going to make next time, but she was in Speak Sell Shine and she just launched a skincare line.
Oh, how
And she was a business coach, business strategist. Her name is Vicky, and so her line is called Victoria's Skincare. So it's just kind of like blends together, and it really talks more about confidence and that kind of thing. So it's, you know, social media is making it so easy to roll out and launch things
yes, it
that
really is. So better get on it because that's the one
Mhm.
thing we can do is that you can launch a whole brand. And now with AI too, it's like you better take advantage of this.
Ooh, oh my God, that's a whole nother conversation for another day. We'll come back and talk about that another time, about the whole AI thing, because it's every day I look at it and it's like, this is crazy. It's good,
It
but
is
it's crazy. I'm like, this is amazing. So yeah,
right.
so Kelsey, thank you so much for joining. People are going to follow you right now on TikTok, but also too, they can also follow you on YouTube. The same thing, just start subscribing. Um, and you'll let everybody know where you're going to be next, January, February, March. You'll have a whole little itinerary of
Yep.
where you're going to be going, because school is out now. You're going to be busy. You're
It's in
busy.
session. School is no longer in session. So I need to be booked and busy for
You
sure.
are. You are. So thank
Yeah.
you so much for joining us today on Get Out There, Get Known. I appreciate you being on the cover of Speakers Magazine. NMPA, just want to know their events are usually like in San Juan, Puerto Rico, and things like that. So they're in like cool places. So
Oh, I like that. I
yeah,
love to travel. So that's good to know. Thank you so much for
yeah.
inviting me to be on your podcast, Dr. Perry.
All righty. Thank you so much, Kelsey. Talk to you soon. Bye bye.
Talk to you. Bye-bye.
That Kelsey, make sure you follow her on TikTok. She is the real deal. She's very authentic. You will just enjoy her content. Some of it is funny, and you'll just find out a lot and learn a whole lot about media in the newspapers. If you don't read the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, just follow Kelsey. She's helping you understand all of that, and she has really got that 100,000 plus platform on TikTok. So with that, I'm out.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where we help you shine like a